Hi there, this is Mr. Gull, Principal of Horizon School. Thank you for taking a few minutes of your day to watch our presentation on grading for learning. Today during our presentation we hope to define and explain some key terms that you'll hear during the presentation and you'll also see in report cards and in grade books. We'll talk a little bit about the district philosophy and principles related to how we plan and how we assess. We'll talk about grading and reporting practices that have been in place for a while here in the district. We'll share the changes to our report card, and you'll actually get a chance to see the new report card. And we'll look inside Skyward, and we'll talk about how to find step-by-step information related to your students' progress. The key terms that we want to make sure are defined through this presentation include grading for learning, standards-based grading, a new area for us on our report cards defined a little differently as success skills, and we'll also relate priority standards and reportable standards, show you how both of those are used to create our lessons, to assess our students, and to share that information with you. As you can see displayed on the screen is the district's definition for grading for learning. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is make sure that the achievement of our students is related to academic standards, and that as we record that information, as we create our grades, as we share that information, we need to make sure that it's accurate, meaningful, consistent, and that it supports the learning of our students. What you're viewing on this screen is a unit designed by our 4th grade teachers in the area of reading. It's a live unit. This is actually how the teachers are designing their lessons, how they're assessing students, and it does influence how we grade our students. This process starts with the priority standards. These pieces may have been seen on report cards before, and we've been using them for many years. These are the things that we want children to be able to do. One change that we did make this year, and you'll see it on a report card, is that these have been summarized into reportable standards. And reportable standards are just a reflection of our learning targets, our priority standards, but it's an easier way and it's a more concise way to share that information. Those priority standards are shared with students often through learning targets. These are the things that kids will be practicing in class. Often they'll have many opportunities to do these things correctly and with different levels of proficiency. During the unit, our teachers use what we call formative assessments. Formative assessments do take many forms. Sometimes they're in homework, sometimes they're in daily activities or group work. It's really a way for students to practice a skill, to practice new learning, and an opportunity for our teachers to watch what's happening when it comes to the student's skill and to provide feedback for the student. Near the end of a unit, including this one, teachers will use a summative assessment. Summative assessments are scored with proficiency scales or with rubrics. One question we often get is, I understand what the standards are, but my child and I don't understand how to show proficiency at a level 3 or perhaps a level 4, and this unit does a great job of sharing that information. This is shared with students, and the idea of how to score at a certain level is something that students are aware of as they work through the lesson and as they complete those assessments. Anytime a change is made, even a minor change is made, the natural question becomes, why did you make the changes and how does this make what you're doing better? We made changes to our report card because we needed to match our grading practices that are happening throughout the district, our principles and curriculum, to how we report that information to students and parents. Horizon is now very well aligned with other district schools, having worked very closely with Pewaukee Lake and with Asa Clark to make sure that our report cards in many ways are almost the same. This report card also reflects feedback that we receive from students, teachers, and especially from parents over the last year, and this is a better way to communicate achievement, growth, and social development. The changes that you'll see on our new report card include summary grades for each content area. There are far fewer standards reported on the report card. You'll see the use of incremental grades, and this report card will be used more frequently. We'll be using a progress report starting on October 12th, but through the rest of the years, at all of the end of those 6-week terms, we will use the report card, and that's consistent through both elementary buildings and at Asa Clark. Let's start our look at the new report card by tracking down how to find it. On the Horizon website, you'll click the Parent tab. When the drop-down menu comes up, You'll use Family Access. From there, you'll sign in on the Skyward login page. If this information hasn't been shared with you yet, or if your login information doesn't work, we need you to call the school office to make sure that you have current information. A couple of things will happen when you talk to Mrs. Liptoe. She can walk you through it on the phone. She can help you make resets or changes, or you can be invited in and you can try to log in live in our office to make sure that you understand how the process works. When you've logged in successfully, you'll see a student information screen with many options, many things that you can check on. For the purpose of this demonstration, we want to make sure that we click on report cards and portfolios. Once you've made that selection, you'll see several options. You may be asked to identify, if you're a family that has more than one student, you may be asked to identify which student you're searching for information on. That can be made at the top of the screen. This is a list of reports for this student. On October 12th, a new option will be added here, and that will be our progress report. Starting in December and through the rest of the year, this is where the report card will land. So this is how you find the report card. Your first option to see student progress this year will be on a progress report. As shown on the last screen, those become live on October 12th. What you'll see is a focus on success skills. You can see the description of what those success skills are, and you can see how those success skills are scored by teachers. A very important piece of this, though, will be the comments. Since we're not doing academic grades, any information related to core content areas will be given here. Our homeroom teachers will have comments here, and your homeroom teachers also do teach at least one core content subject, but you may see in this box an opportunity to see other comments in the gradebook related to other subjects, and I'll make sure to show you how to find those comments later in our presentation. In terms 2 through 6 this year, we will be using at both elementary schools a report card, and here is the new report card. I wanted to make sure that we had some opportunity to talk about those 4 changes. Our first change again is redefined success skills. The important part about this is the alignment that it draws between Pewaukee Lake, Asa Clark, and Horizon School, using very similar worded, almost exactly the same set of success skills. Academic performance has been redefined in some areas. The most important piece here that I needed you to see was that we are now using incremental grades. This will help teachers more accurately pinpoint student progress at a certain point in time, and it will also give teachers an expanded way to share growth. As mentioned before, to create consistency and to make this more frequent, we're using the report card for the rest of this school year. So this piece will be used for every other term, excluding the progress report used in the first term. And a piece that many of you shared through your feedback that you were very interested in is having a summary grade. You'll notice that there are still reportable standards that relate to the summary grades, but there will be a summary grade for each one of your core content areas. I'm going to use math here as an example of how those grades are compiled. These are the reportable standards, again, summaries of the priority standards. Students will receive grades in most of these, ranging from 1 to 4. Teachers will then use these grades to determine a summary grade. Now, the summary grade is not an average grade. It's a determination made by the teacher based on recent student performance on these reportable standards. As we zero in on the report cards, our images did get a little more fuzzy, so I do apologize for that. But this screen is an attempt to show you the differences between last year's report card, the report card on the left, and this year's report card, that's on the right. Last year we used all of the, or almost all of the priority standards as reportable standards, put all of that information on the report card. Last year for math, in some grade levels we had up to 22 categories, all of those priority standards that could be reported out several times a year. This year we've taken those priority standards and summarized them as reportable standards. That's a big change. This year the math grade will only be reflective of 4 reportable standards, and those reportable standards again will be used to create a summary grade. Taking a step back to the student information page, you'll be able to access the gradebook. This is how you'll keep track of how well your child is doing between terms. Once you've made that selection, you need to make sure that you, if you have more than one child in your family, use the drop-down menu here, released by this toggle, to pick the correct student. Here's a peek inside the gradebook. Now this gradebook hasn't had any information entered into it yet, and when these go live again on Monday, October 12th, you should see something that looks a little different as grades start to populate. A couple of things I wanted to point out is that you will see that math summative grade, and I'm pointing to that right here. This toggle switch can be moved to open or close. You can just look at the summative grade. If you open it as it is here, you'll see all of those reportable standards. As grades start to populate this area, each one of these reportable standards will end up with its own toggle. When you open that or click that toggle, you should be able to see the assignments, the grades, and the assessments that relate directly to that reportable standard. I thank you again for watching our short presentation. Hopefully this answered some of your questions. If you do have more questions, please make sure to contact us in the Horizon office, and I can be reached directly at 262-695-5052. Enjoy the rest of your day.